members would like to present at this time. For quite a while, nothing much externally or visible has been happening in tourism, and we know from very early in 2020, even before we officially locked down in March, January, February, even maybe from December, some of the hoteliers were getting cancellations for bookings and so on. The airlines were getting cancellations. So we saw a gradual downturn in the first 2 months or so, and then come March when we closed, of course, it was a complete closure. And so tourism has been the first sector to be affected, and it is predicted that it will probably be the last to recover. But while not much has been seen or visible on the Grenada scenario, we have been doing a lot of work in the background to make sure that we are ready. We all know that Grenada, like many other Caribbean countries and the world over, are tourism dependent, some more than others, and tourism has contributed significantly to the economy. So while it is a good time for us to look at other alternative contributors to the economy, I believe that tourism will continue to play a significant role in terms of boosting the economy of Grenada. So it has been an area of concern for us in terms of where we're at, and as when we hear some countries have been able to control the virus and the numbers of infected persons are going down, we feel very happy. And when we hear of places contemplating shutdowns, then we say, oh my Lord, what is happening? So it has been a roller coaster time for us. But we're there, and this last week or two, we've seen pretty good signs that things are going to turn around. So I want to speak about the positives. I will first speak about the launch. Last week, we had the launch of the West Indies School of Hospitality. The acronym is WISH, and that was launched in collaboration with Cornell University in the United States. They have an e-learning platform through which these classes will be done, and maybe at some point in time there is, if the circumstances permit and COVID-19 behaves itself, we might have more practical, because hospitality is theoretical, but it is to some extent practical as well, and we're looking forward to that. So we have the founders of this hospitality school are Mr. Barry Collymore, Mr. Danny Fakri, and Mr. Nagib Sari. And what was very heartening are two things. One is the level of Cornell University, level of the university that has come to our shores to offer services or training to our people. Cornell University is well recognized in the US. The ratings are very high, in the 90s and so on, and the School of Hospitality is well renowned. As people will tell you, if you approach someone for a job with a certificate from a lot of universities with hospitality schools, they would wonder what would they be getting. If you have a certificate from Cornell and it is bona fide, then they know that they're getting the real thing and good quality of service, excellence of service. That's the first one. And the second one is that 6,000 courses in hospitality will be offered free of cost to the Grenadian public. And so it is for the young person who is looking for an area, a lucrative area to do business, to learn something that could put food on their table and give them a quality of life. And it is for older persons who have been in the industry and need to upgrade their knowledge, their technical skills, whatever. So I'm very pleased for that. The school also plans to expand the services or the training to other Caribbean islands. And we in Grenada, we have always had the Caribbean spirit, and I'm glad to know that this will be happening. So I'm thinking that later on, when travel become more frequent and when it becomes safer, that some of these same Caribbean brothers and sisters who are being offered this training, they too can come to Grenada, and that might be a small way of economic activities for our country as well, similarly to St. George University, but on a smaller scale, of course. And then later on, we had the groundbreaking for the beach house by Silver Sands. This facility provides 30 luxury rooms to be built, and a restaurant and a spa are included. This work is supposed to start very soon on that, and it is expected to open in 2024. Now, and thirdly, we had the grand opening of City Inn, which is located right in the heart of town, somewhere on Yonge Street. That facility boasts of 12 accommodation rooms, a restaurant, a bar, and a lounge area. And this is 100% local investors. I hope that this opening of a facility conceived, executed, and now owned by Grenadians would encourage others to think about investing in the tourism industry, regardless of the fact that there's a downturn at this particular time. Now, I mentioned 42 rooms in total, 30 for Beach House, 12 for City Inn. Every room counts in our country. Room stock is critical to, if you're making deals with the flights, if you're negotiating, one of the first questions they ask you what is your room stock? And also some of them do package tours. You purchase a package for the flight, for the accommodation, and sometimes the tours. And if you do not have enough rooms of the standard that they require, then that would be a no-no for them to come to your country. So I just wanted to call a couple numbers. I won't call countries, but these are numbers of room stock which countries in our region have, and they have the advantage of getting more direct flights, getting more variety in flights, and this is what we're aiming for. So one country has 6,657. It's an average. Of course, those are rooms that are registered with the Hotel Association in their countries. One has 3,773, one has 5,057, and Grenada has 2,081. So when you do the comparison, we find that one of the factors, compelling factors that bring more flights to other countries are the room stock. So the other projects that are on stream, we look forward to those projects continuing and those projects being brought to completion so that we can have a significant room stock that will give us that leverage, that edge that we're looking for to bring flights and to bring visitors to our country. In the meantime, behind the scenes, we have been working on overseas representation, revisiting, relooking at our terms of reference, what we expect them to do, and seeing how we can freshen up on that in our main source markets. So that would be like UK, USA, Canada, and so on. We're working to beef up that so that the marketing and the contacts can be achieved through these entities. We have done webinars where we have invited numbers of persons to attend, where we, from Grenada, from GTA, we can market our destination as well. Also, we've been taking advantage of advertising opportunities with the airlines, with Caribbean Airlines, with Inter-Caribbean, and so on, in the magazines. And that too also helps. We're working with Expedia and doing hotel beds advertising with tour operators, a number of things. And I'm happy to say that British Airways has a May sale, and Grenada is included in that because the expected time for them to start is July. So come next month, they'll start to advertise and market Grenada as a destination that they're going to. And fingers crossed, if everything goes as planned, we should see British Airways returning. And as I speak of British Airways, also sometime in the next month or two, we expect to see Virgin coming back to our shores. So we hope that the containment of COVID and everything that has to be done to reduce the infection rate is being done. I cannot help but mention the word vaccine, because that would be make a critical difference to how we respond to the disease, how our bodies respond, and how we overcome it. And of course, in the meantime, we have to observe all of the protocols in terms of the social distancing, the wearing of masks, washing and sanitizing hands, and so on and so on. Grenada will soon be, and I wanted to say that, on Wheel of Fortune. I'm told it's America's #1 watched game show on May 5th and June 10th, where two of our leading hotels, Calabash and Koyaba, they have provided all-inclusive giveaways for couples to these to this show for the 2 dates, and we will get an opportunity for our destination to video to be shown as well during that. So we have been doing our work in the background. Cruise discussions have continued. We continue to discuss with Holland America and Seabourn. They are planning to operate from outside of the Caribbean, from within the Caribbean. Seabourn plans to home port in Barbados, and Holland America plans to home port in Aruba, and they will be doing tours within the Caribbean areas. And we have always had the advantage of being far south, so that a cruise ship leaving Miami, let's say, and traveling down the Caribbean islands for 1 week, they don't get to us who are so far south. And so having a home porting facility within the Caribbean would create that difference for us. So there would be more calls. We have done well over the years. Our numbers have increased, and we hope that that decision would contribute to more calls and more visitors to our shores. We know that they do have we all do have concerns about the CDC release to not restart for summer, and we'll see how it plays out as, of course, people respond to the call to see how we can get rid of COVID by the different means. A number of other things are planned, like training and so on, and we continue to do that, and to retrain our tour operators, to retrain those who are in the vending areas, so that when we do have significant numbers of tourists, persons know how to conduct themselves. We give them the assistance they require, so that we can keep as far as possible the COVID-19 out of our shores. We have discussed with the cruise ships the vaccination of seafarers that they plan to use when they start their cruise, and so the Ministry of Health, our government, has agreed to make vaccines available free of cost to persons who would like to work on the cruise ships. At this point in time, they have not said that it is mandatory, but they're moving in that direction, and I know this is something that has to be resolved. So this is pretty much where we are. We know there is a forecast for estimated increase in the GDP created by tourism, 2021 over 2020. But since we were in negative over 2020, even if we do have an increase, it's possible that we still are far way below what we would have generated before. Now I will just move to Grenada Airports Authority, just some points of interest. I did mention the UK flights. Just wanted to say that JetBlue, they will be scheduling daily flights effective the 6th of May, so that is within the next week or so. American Airlines has committed to more flights from the 2nd of June. They have not said how many flights. I think a lot of what they do will depend on the reopening of SGU in terms of physical classes being delivered. And so I hope that this establishment, this school, which has contributed so significantly to the economy of Grenada, will soon be able to have classes, physical classes, and so that persons will come back to our shores, and that our students, of course, our Grenadian students, can gain from that. We have seen in April, both flights, both JetBlue and American, they have come with full load. We'll see what happens as the disease progresses. I am also very pleased to report that we have seen a 45% increase in cargo movement in the month of March, and we expect to see at the end of April to see more of an increase, and that is so important to the agriculture industry, agriculture and fisheries. At this particular point in time, there are a number of fishermen who have quantities of fish in storage, refrigeration storage, and they cannot get market for it. So as I do have an audience, I just want to say that perhaps we should be encouraging more people to eat fish locally. This is your time to eat every type of fish that is available, and it's always your time, but it's a good time to give support to our fishermen, and we are looking at ways to see how we can assist the fishermen in marketing the fish locally. But of course, we also would like to see them export quite a lot more, and between the minister with responsibility for fisheries, Honorable Yolan Bain-Hosford, and myself, we've met with some of the exporters, and we're looking at what we can do to assist them, because that is important. But I'm heartened to see the increase both in export of fish and agricultural produce. But the exporters, I know, are sorely challenged at this time. The GAA is the recipient of the Airport Council International Aerodrome Airport Accreditation Certification. That one is a long one. But this provides assessment of how the health requirements are employed at the airport to ensure that the safety of passengers and the safety of the workers alike, and our airport has been given recommendations based on that. And then I'll just move to solid waste. Government through Grenada Solid Waste has increased its investment in solid waste to improve on the efficiency of collection of waste. I know towards the end of last year we did have a number of complaints and concerns from citizens in some more areas than others. Some areas seem to be flowing very well. Other areas did have some backups and some delays in the collection system. So we haven't heard much in terms of complaints. I've checked with solid waste. They seem to be doing a much better job, those who are the collectors at this time, and I just want to encourage them to continue to do it. It's an important, a critical service to this country. So some areas have been realigned so you could have more areas to improve on the efficiency of collections. Work continues on the construction of the new landfill, and it is expected that by the end of May, that new landfill would be operational. And at the same time, plans are being made to shut down the old landfill and to improve the aesthetics of that field. We know over the past months, though not in recent times, we had fires, we had smoke in that area, and quite a lot of technical work has been done to to quell that fire. We in the dry season, and we haven't seen smoke, we haven't seen a sign of it, but we're monitoring to see, and our hope is that the work done would have dealt with the fire once and for all. But since it is garbage piled on top garbage to a high extent, it is difficult to determine whether it is completely resolved, and we're monitoring to see what happens, and we stand ready to ensure that we deal with it once and for all. But as we resolve the issue of the closure of the old landfill, that would be a part of it, and we have negotiated with the CDB for the financing to do just that. In terms of landfill and collection, I also wanted to mention that this from the 2nd of May, it will be the World Environment Day will be celebrating composting, and over that week from the 2nd of May to maybe the 9th of May, the solid waste team, they will be executing a number of activities, training, teaching persons how to compost. They have invested in a few shredders, wood shredders for organic material, so that they make it available for persons to purchase, and these machines would be very useful in breaking down the organic material to the size where it would favor composting. And it is interesting to note that the percentage of organic material that goes to the landfill is between 40 to 45%, and that is a significant, almost half. And these things do not need to come to the landfill at all, and that is one of the reasons why the landfill fills up so quickly, because of unnecessary materials that are put there. So the theme for the celebrations is grow, eat, compost, and repeat. Continue the cycle. So that is the theme, and we will be following up on that. And we, on a broader scale, not just for the 1 week, we are looking at how we manage waste. What can be reused? What can be recycled? What can be reduced? And one of the things we know that is a burning issue in this country is the whole issue of derelict vehicles, the number of old vehicles we see by the side of the roads. And we've been having discussions on it. We have to work, of course, with the Ministry of Health based on the legislation. There are different tasks that different entities have to perform, and we will be embarking on means to remove those derelict vehicles from the road. One of the things that has been lacking, where we have lagged behind, is to sign a convention called the Basel Convention that will allow us to ship out metal waste from our country. As persons may know, there was one time when solid waste operated to reduce, to compact the metal from the vehicles and from other structures, and we would export it. And for a long time we have not been doing that, and we have been stopped because we had not signed to the convention. So now we have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working aggressively to get this matter resolved, and as soon as that eyesore would be taken away from the eyes of the Grenadian public. It will be a slow process, but it will be a sure process, because we are putting the structures in place even as we speak. So with that, I think here we end some of the main happenings. It is beginning to look exciting in the tourism industry, and I look forward to a number of persons who were displaced from the industry regaining their jobs, and the country again coming back alive economically and otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. So colleagues, you've heard from the Minister extensively. Callistra Faria, good morning. I understand you're ready with your questions. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Leslie Ann. I joined late because I was on a seminar, a journalism seminar. So I'm not sure if the minister addressed the issue of the Morris Bishop International Airport. So that's what my question is about. If you have not made a statement, can you make a statement on, say something on the concern facing the nation right now based on the comments made by the hotel investor a few days ago at the function in which you also spoke at that function. What can you tell the Grenadian people really thinking of the government at this time and going forward on the ownership status of the Morris Bishop International Airport?
Okay, I'll make it short. First of all, I want to state the very obvious that this is a private businessman and he was voicing his own opinion at a session, and that our government has never had discussions either within government or within the Civil Aviation Department or with any business person. He was expressing his personal opinion at that time, and government has not discussed that. Government has no intention of doing that. At this time, I can't say for governments in the future, but this is not something that has been considered at all.
That's it for you, Calista.
Responsibility for those areas. What, and given the circumstances now facing the airport, while it has not been, you say it has not been on the table for discussion, if it does come up, what would be your position on this?
If it does come up at this present time, my position would be our airport is one of the few airports that are that is a statutory body under government, and you find it in a lot of countries that makes a profit, and it has done so. It has functioned well, so I do not see that the necessity of that at this particular point in time. I do not see it, and if it came up now, I will not support.
That's it, Calista. Colleagues, anybody else with questions?
For now, Leslie, and thank you.
No problem. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to go back to the West Indies School of Hospitality. If they're offering 6,000 free online courses, who is paying for those courses? Who's paying the instructors, and how is the financing of this school work? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy, for that question. As you know, when courses are offered, there is a price, and the price is calculated to allow the facility or the business that is offering the course to cover all that you have said, to cover the tutors and whatever else the functioning. But remember, it is virtual, so there isn't any great expense in terms of facility, and this is an established hospitality school that would have all its other facilities. Now, in terms of who is funding it, the main financial contribution will be coming from Mr. Naguib Sawiri. That is the owner of Silver Sands.
Nancy, any other question?
Yes, I have one more question. Can the minister update us on the progress with having workers at hotels and other hospitality places where tourists would visit to be vaccinated? How is that progressing? Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for introducing again the V word. This has not been, let me take it from my personal perspective. I personally would have liked to see, I support the vaccination. I believe that at this particular time in the history of the COVID-19 disease, that this is the best chance we have. As they say, the best shot we have is to take the shot. I firmly believe that. This is why I have taken mine, and I've taken my first shot, and I'm due maybe in another week or so to have my second shot. I am well aware that persons have their reservations. I am well aware of the very strong and sometimes very erroneous information that is placed on the media that causes concern in other people and hesitancy to take the vaccine. But with the way that the disease is progressing in countries, if we look at what is happening in India, if we looking at what's happening in Canada and other countries, we know that we cannot just open back the industry and have a free-for-all where people can come into the country vaccinated or not, or whether and just mingle as they feel, or whether the workers can just attend to them, especially the frontline workers in the sector, like those who do housekeeping, those who serve, whether it's at the bar or serve meals, where they may come into close contact with persons. It will not be wise for them to intermingle with other persons if they are not vaccinated as well. So I think both sides needs to be. Now, initially, the hospitality sector was very quick to take up that offer. Now we're seeing the numbers slowing, and it is an issue of concern for us. Sandals, which has opened, has the employment numbers is probably around 500. When last I checked, which probably was about a week ago, they had over 200 plus workers, perhaps closer to 300 vaccinated. And other facilities, smaller facilities, I know some smaller facilities that have 100% vaccination, and they're operational. They have tourists coming into the facilities, while some are still closed, waiting on the bigger influx of visitors to our shores. So it varies from accommodation to accommodation. Some hoteliers are working with their workers, their staff, to get persons to come and explain to them about the vaccine and its importance. But I have not seen, and we have not seen the uptake that we would like to see, and the uptake that we believe would make the industry viable in Grenada. So we are working with them. I want to compliment the persons who were at the town hall meeting on Sunday afternoon. I think they spoke well in an objective way about the vaccine, and I hope that a number of Grenadians would have listened, and perhaps this is where the persons of the media can assist. I know some people may be against it, but if you are for it, and especially if you have taken your vaccine, I would want to encourage others. Let us get into this and let us share our experience, because there is fear. It's going to make you sick, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and so on. And perhaps those of us who have taken it and have fared pretty well, we have not had any serious adverse effect thus far. We need that. So we have quite a few who are vaccinated, who have come forward, but not enough to make the industry viable. So I hope we can get some help from somewhere where persons can do that. The other thing we have to be aware of is that the vaccines have a shelf life. And some of it was donated, some of it was purchased, and if we just hold back and then we choose our time to come, the vaccine may no longer be available. And then what do we do? So this is where we are. We would like to see more. We're happy for those who came forward, and I really want to compliment the few hotels that have their full numbers. I don't like to call names because sometimes it seems as though you're singling out one or the other, but a few of the smaller ones have done excellently in having 100% compliance.
That's it for the time being, Nancy. All right, let's go to Linda.
Oh, sorry.
Linda Stricker. Nancy, if you have another question, we come back to you just now. Linda Stricker, good
Sure.
morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi. Morning to Les and the Minister. Minister, you mentioned of activities taking place now at the airport in terms of cargo. Can you share some more details on that as to where this cargo is going and what type of export are we seeing moving? Is it fish? Is it fresh fruits and vegetables? Are you in a position to say the type of cargo that is increasingly being exported? You mentioned that the ministry, because you're the minister, I didn't hear any specific mention made of the GTA. But one of the things that we have all come to learn recently of the redundancy of the communication unit or department or the officer, but at the same time you're saying much is being done to push the message of tourism in Grenada. Can you share with us what is a new approach that will be adopted to communicate the message of Grenada to locally, regionally, and internationally? And my third question for now, can you provide us an update on the airport project? The Chinese funded and the World Bank funded project. I know there is two set of funding. We have the World Bank giving, I think, 17 US million, and the Chinese funded one for, I think, the airport, the new taxi runway or so. Update us about that now, please. Thank you. I have other questions, but I wait another round.
Thank you very much for the questions. I know I did mention the GTA when I spoke about the marketing abroad and using our offices abroad. We are going to always need offices abroad because what they assist in the direct marketing in the destinations we have in Canada, the USA, Germany, and UK. And also we've been engaging persons who do market. Well, most marketing is virtually, especially in this day and age. But these offices continue to operate. The GTA is now restructuring. They're now restructuring these areas, the marketing, whether it's local and also outside. And that is why you mentioned the position becoming redundant. I do not have that information. What I do know is that as persons' contracts reach their end, their time is extended by 3 months to give the GTA the opportunity to review things like performance, things like the terms of reference, whether you need to take them on different terms of reference, because these are different times. And that is what I know. I don't think any position has been made redundant yet, so I could stand corrected on that. On the other hand, you mentioned about the two projects. When last I checked, might have been 2 weeks ago, there is nothing much happening at this time. The company is still very active in terms of sourcing what it has to source and making arrangements. But the actual work has not started yet, and it's largely because of the situation with COVID that they're trying to, because people have to work in close proximity. Some of the experts have to come into the country, and issues like quarantine and so on are issues that are not favorable to them coming in at this time. But the work is on hold at this time, and I haven't been given a date as to when it's going to start, so this is something I would need to check on. And you asked about the fish, about the export. Largely fish, but other produce like the soursop and so, they are being exported on a regular basis. I'm trying to remember. Amerijet. Amerijet is the main service provider for transport, and it goes to the United States. American does take a bit of the produce. We have not had that kind of collaboration with JetBlue. So at this point in time, there's just these three. And so in our meeting with the exporters, they were looking at having charters with other service providers that could take out our supplies in a timely manner. It goes primarily to the U.S. through Miami. In the past, British Airways particularly provided a great service to take supplies to the UK and also to transship from UK into the US as well, different places in the US. Now that service is no longer available, and even Amerijet used to come twice a week, it's coming once a week. So all of that has compounded the situation, and of course with the American airline flights much less than they used to be, it's 2 per week. That too has created a problem. So that is where it is. We continue to have dialogue, and we're also looking at charters, because when your fish is ready to go and when fruits are ready, they're ready to go. And so we await. Only yesterday the minister with responsibility for fisheries and I were talking, and we await some feedback from the exporters to see what more we can do. So that's the present situation. And also just to mention that Caribbean Airline has offered to take some of our cargo to the US, and we're having discussions with them on that front.
Minister, just for clarity purposes, the Chinese loan, you said that it is on hold. Being on hold, that would have announced so much 2 or 3 years ago. Would that affect the final agreement? Would it extend the life? Would it reduce on the amount that will be given over a period of time? Putting on hold because of COVID, how it's going to affect the final agreement to what would have been originally negotiated for both things, both World Bank and the Chinese?
Okay, so that is a very valid question. The Ministry of Finance has been holding discussions with them on it, and I will tell you what I expect. We have contracts with Virgin Airlines, we have with British Airways, and we do have to pay some fees, and all the Caribbean islands, or mostly all, we do pay to play, as we have said before. And we did have an agreement that should have started, I think it's April last year. And because of what has happened, the amounts and everything, we have renegotiated. As a matter of fact, they didn't even wait for us to ask, but they came forward and they said, well, all of these months that planes weren't flying, we will deduct, and we will do a pro rata basis for the few calls that we would have made, and that has worked excellently. I expect some kind of agreement similar to that, but a little different because it's more complicated to happen. And bearing in mind how the Chinese have treated with us in the past, I believe, I have confidence that this is what is going to happen, that the time between, let's say now the arrangement was for a moratorium for 5 years where we had to pay nothing. That would be extended now. So if it would have ended, let's say 2023 or 2024, then those months or the period in which nothing happened, I expect that to be discounted. But the Ministry of Finance is holding that conversation with the Chinese.
Thank you, Linda. GBN, good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Rena P. Thomas here. Minister Clarice, I would like to ask you regarding the cruise ship sector. I know you spoke a little bit about it regarding 2 ships that might be coming in, but based on discussions you said you have been having or government have been having, how soon would we see more cruise ships coming in? What are the discussions like? Could you get a little bit more in depth as it relates to that? I didn't hear you say much about the yachting sector. And with the amount of hotels reopening and we have a bit of persons coming in, do you foresee any increase in the amount of travelers or in the amount of persons occupancy within the hotels, the tourism sector in general? What are your expectations going forward, understanding that we have vaccinations throughout the world, including Grenada and the rest of the Caribbean?
Okay. So in terms of the cruise ships, the time is that has been given to us is for the 1st of July. So we have just over 2 months to continue our discussions, continue our preparations. I spoke about the vaccination. We're making it available to our locals at this time, and I'm not sure what the uptake has been thus far. But they have, as a matter of fact, very recently there was a press release from Seabourn. A press release from Seabourn which spoke to the destinations. Usually what I look for Grenada, but countries like Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia are involved. The home porting for Seabourn is in Barbados, as I said, and the other one, Holland America, is in Aruba. Now, because these flights are these calls are originating, or these cruises are originating within the Caribbean, I have inquired whether the CDC restraint on sailing would affect, and I have been told no. That is still left to be seen, but the Caribbean countries are the ones to make the decision in that regard. What I do know that CDC and CLIA have said, though, is that they have urged Caribbean members or destinations to have discussions with the individual cruise lines to discuss the protocols to ensure that everything is in place and have a signed document with each cruise ship that comes in long before they come in, an agreed procedure to follow coming into the destination. We have had several meetings. Last Thursday or Friday I had one, and as we speak there's another one on the same cruise happening today. We have been engaging CAFA and the different entities in health of the different islands to look at what the protocols are going to be. We in Grenada, we have worked with GHTA, the tour operators, and so to come up with a listing of attractions where we think the protocols can effectively be carried out. So we have been doing on that on our side, but the date set is July. I think it's the 1st of July. I'm just looking here to see what exact date, but I think it's the 1st of July that they're planning. So we've been having frequent meetings, and they have sent us the protocols. As a matter of fact, Dr. George Mitchell has been twinned with the airline main health persons, and they have been having discussions on that, which they will take to, first of all, the Ministry of Health, to review and to give us an opinion, and also ultimately to our cabinet for approval. So this is where we are. We're treading very cautiously. We're looking at the attraction sites. We're strengthening our procedures and our protocols, and they too are strengthening theirs. So they have shared with us a draft proposal as to how they're going to carry out the safety measures on the ship in terms of health, and we have looked at that, we have responded, and we have an individual who is in touch with them. That is where we are, and we hope we can start come 1st of July.
That's it from you, Rena.
What about the yachting sector? You didn't mention anything about the yachting sector.
Okay. We started last year around the hurricane season or just before, we put protocols in place to receive yachts. As we all know, yachting contributes significantly, is a very important sector to the tourism industry. So we successfully were able to shelter quite a number of yachties and the occupants, and we are planning to do that again. But very importantly, we don't just want to be providing a service for a shelter. We want to energize the yachting industry even more, and there is a team of persons. There's a committee looking at that, comprising of persons in their own marinas who operate individually, as well as members of MAYAG, who MAYAG comprises of various marinas who have united themselves in an association, and they are looking as to how we can improve it with health, with port authorities, with immigration and customs, and it has never fully stopped, but we want to inject more energy into it to make the protocols run more smoothly, and they have been allowed to quarantine on the yachts and then subsequently come on, and there's a well-established delivery service. So those persons who are responsible, they have been having meetings and they are progressing nicely. So I think we're just again in time for the next hurricane season, but we want to impress them. I also just wanted to report that in terms of the sailing ships that come to our shores from very far away, like the RORC, the ARC, and the Viking Explorers, we have managed to successfully sign contracts with them so that for the next 3 years or so, they will be coming to our shores. As a matter of fact, the ARC, our agreement with them is for the next 5 years, and this year for December we'll be having 100 of them coming in. If you look at an average of maybe 3 persons, 4 persons per vessel, we'll be having 300-400 persons. They usually come in, spend a little time, and then they go. So that will certainly boost the economy. So we continue to work with them on that. I hope that would have satisfied your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. Nancy Maguire, you had another question?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the progress with the solid waste. You mentioned the composting. What's the plan for separating? Our residents are going to be required eventually to separate different types of waste at the residential business level, or is that all still going to happen by the solid waste employees once we get to this new landfill, which should be totally different than the other one?
Yes. The solid waste management, they have not informed me of a time frame for doing home separation, but I think it is it's a very useful thing to do, and it will improve or reduce the unsightliness at the site. I have passed in other countries at sites where waste is deposited, solid waste, and you don't get a smell. It's not unsightly, and I was pleased to see that where they're doing the new landfill, that they're planting trees and so on. So it's going to be better, but in terms of the separation, they have not given me a decision on that. But certainly, in terms of reusing, they are discussing with a service provider to reuse diesel oil and to make something out of it. I don't remember what it is. But diesel is going to be, because the oils are just deposited at this time at the landfill, and they do not have a good scientific way of disposing of it. Also, I mentioned about the vehicles and other metals. We're working on that, ensuring that we are signatories to the convention, and the composting, but the separation has not been finalized. So thanks for reminding me. As a matter of fact, when I leave here, I'm going up there. We have a meeting, we have a site visit, and I'll let them know that there is that concern and that question. So maybe soon we can answer you on that.
That's it, Nancy. Linda, do you have another question? Anybody else with questions, colleagues? We are just about 4 minutes before wrapping up time. All right, it seems as though we've exhausted all our questions. I take it the silence means everybody's okay? All right, so Minister, you have the floor.
Yes. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say I noticed that the statement made caused a lot of concern. And interestingly, before today, nobody had ever asked me what was my take on it, even because there were media persons at the very event. And I understand Grenadians' concerns for our properties. But a simple question might have averted the fear that was brought into people's minds unnecessarily so. So I would just like to say to the persons on the media platform here and others, I am available to answer questions. So sometimes it's better to deal with it in a timely manner rather than have it be blown out of proportions. And I just want to reiterate that this was a statement by an individual in his own capacity, and it was not prompted in any way by the government of Grenada nor the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation. I also want to say that I'm happy to see things turning around. The three events that we had last week, it has certainly given hope to persons in the industry. I remember calling one of the hoteliers and said, "How are you doing?" And he said, Minister, after these last two events, the third one hadn't happened yet, I really feel much better. The industry has suffered, the individuals in the industry, whichever part, be it tour operators, be it hoteliers, and we must not forget we have the Airbnb that has been suffering as well. The small persons out in the communities have been suffering. The restaurants, the taxi men, some of them, I remember there was a meeting with a few government persons with the taxi association, and some was saying, honest enough to say, look, I have this little thing on the side that I can do to earn something, but some of the membership have had nothing. The seafarers, I would love to see them go back, and the Ministry of Health was quite willing to provide the vaccines for them. So if there are any seafarers listening there, then call the Grenada Tourism Authority or the Ministry of Health or even the Ministry of Tourism, and we'll be happy to hook you up. There is vaccine. There is enough, or there are enough vaccines to vaccinate those who need it at this time, and especially those in the industry. And I just want to say, I cannot see how this industry will survive or will progress or will be kept safe if we do not take the vaccine. So we're not pressuring anybody, but I want to encourage all to avail yourself to the opportunity, because some countries, people want to get vaccine or be vaccinated, but they do not have vaccines. Grenada has vaccines. We made it available, and we are still hesitant. So find out, ask questions. I don't know if that same forum that was had on Sunday, could be repeated. Let's do that. Let's give people the opportunity to hear more about the other side and make wise decisions in that regard. So I thank everyone for the question. I note the questions, and where I couldn't answer 100%, then now it is my duty to go and have the conversations that would provide that for you. And I'm happy that I had the opportunity today. So thank you, Sister Leslie Ann, for facilitating, and thanks everyone who has facilitated in one way or the other, technically or otherwise, for this session to happen.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you to the Honorable Dr. Clarice Modest Kerwin, Minister for Civil Aviation and Tourism in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, Tourism and Climate Resilience. Colleagues, we do thank you as well, all of you joining us on Zoom, and as well as the viewers who joined us on the Channel 22 of Facebook page and, of course, the YouTube channel. Have a blessed and productive day today, everybody. Thank you.